are available from
Right.
Michigan Saves. I'll see with the price of things going up and stuff, having a good set of financing tools specifically tailored to solar helps keep things moving and keeps this affordable for everybody. So I'm Mark Levy, your host. I'm the Vice President of Great Lakes Renewable Energy Association. Our financial sponsors for the GLREA Clean Energy Seminar are the Michigan Department of Environment and Great Lakes, Eagle, McNaughton McKay, and Harvest Solar. This should be moving. It's not. There we are. Great Lakes Renewable Energy Association. We were formed in 1991. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization supported by our members to educate and advocate for renewable energy in Michigan. People who are friends and stakeholders can support us in a number of ways. One, we have a number of committees, education committee, a regulatory committee, all kinds of things, and participate in this work. You don't have to be on the board to be a volunteer to serve on a GLREA committee. And those who have interest in becoming a board member in GLREA, this is a great pathway to do that. Two, you can help grow our membership. You can renew your GLREA membership if you haven't done already. And you can also encourage others to join, which increases the organization's reach and influence. You can make a financial donation to GLREA to support our work. You'll be hearing more about that in the future as we intervene in more and more rate cases to make sure that solar is an option for individual citizens, not an option just for blue chip stockholders of DTE and Consumers Energy. For information on any of the above, you can contact John Freeman, our esteemed GLREA Executive Director at jfreeman13@comcast.net. The GLREA Zoom programs began by John Sarver, who began with My Solar Stories, which would be fourth Thursday of every month. Over the last year or so, we took up every other week and have added several new things, including a Solar Stories hosted by Julie Roth and focusing on Ann Arbor, and Detroit Solar Stories hosted by Diane Van Buren. I do the clean energy seminars, and we meet on the second Thursday of every month. Tonight, our clean energy seminars, all of our topics cover a broad range of issues for energy users, renewable energy businesses, and advocates. Our seminars include content ranging from technology to business to public policy. It's a Zoom event, again, held every Thursday from 7 to 8. Any kind of questions, comments, or suggestions will be welcomed and should be directed to me. My email is mclevy123@gmail.com. While the presentation is going on, we ask that you remember to mute yourself. And also, please hold all your questions until the end of the presentation. You can raise your hand on the reaction section and ask a question, and the host will call on you, or Pat, the speaker, will answer you directly. Tonight, I welcome you to it's not February, it's the May to Clean Energy Seminar. Financing for solar energy and battery storage is critically important enabler of the clean economy. Michigan Saves is the nation's first, and we think one of the most important nonprofit green banks, providing enabling financing for clean energy, energy efficiency, energy diversification, and carbon reduction. Pat O'Boyle is a contract account manager for Michigan Saves. Patrick is also on the GLREA board member and has received awards for his outstanding work on behalf of clean energy. Tonight, Pat's going to talk about Michigan Saves' new financing tools for solar and battery storage. As Pat will discuss, these tools are designed, in the words of Julie Baldwin, Michigan Public Service Commission, when she spoke here, all of these are designed to speed up the solar train in Michigan. So we welcome Pat to our Clean Energy Seminar. And with that, Pat, I'll turn this over to you.
Let's see. Can everybody see my screen? A thumbs up on this? Okay. So thanks, Mark, and good to see everybody here. Obviously, I apologize for being a little late. For those of you, I'm going to skip to the next slide because it's a good one that we can talk about today. Michigan Saves is a nonprofit green bank. We actually are the first nonprofit green bank. We operate within the state of Michigan. And we do energy efficiency and renewable energy finance. Most commonly, and what many people here today are probably sitting in their air-conditioned home for one of the first days this year. We do a whole lot of air conditioner and furnace replacements. So today has been an absolute panic storm. If you hear my phone, I got it vibrate, but we're still doing loans. We were at 91 loan applications today as of 5:30 p.m. So to put it is a great. We're really cruising along, but it definitely caught up with us today. Luckily, we see that coming now. So we got all of our lenders on board and actually had lenders stay after today to make sure we got accurate decisions. So what Michigan Saves does, and I'll blast through the whole program kind of quickly. I like more questions in the end. It's super easy to go off if you're working on a project, or I see some contractors on here that I haven't seen in a bit. So if you've got questions, or if you're a homeowner and want to reach out to me afterwards, that's what we do. The Green Bank, so how it's set up, the quick version is there was grant funds from the Michigan Public Service Commission, the Department of Energy. And instead of doing doing the improvements direct, so if Mr. Sarver needed a new furnace and air conditioner or wanted solar panels, instead of us loaning directly to him, the money sits in a loan loss reserve, which acts as essentially loan insurance for private lenders on the residential, and I'll focus residential here. On the residential end, the borrower borrows from one of 6 credit unions within the state of Michigan through our program, and the credit union is able to provide their financing to a wider range of credit scores at lower rates than what they would offer a standard unsecured loan for, because in the end, if there's a default, they have insurance from that loan loss reserve that covers a balance of that loan. So they can be more aggressive with their financing for these improvements because of that. That's kind of the fast version. Our entire program is operated by, we have a dealer fee or a contractor fee that we charge the contractors when we try to keep that as low as possible. That's our operational expense. So any money that's in that loan loss reserve doesn't get used for staffing, budget, any of that, marketing materials. All of that comes from the fee we collect from the contractor. Over the last 24 months, we've really streamlined our process to the contractor. We've also added, and this is what I'm happy to be here to say, is we now have unsecured loans for up to $100,000. So for those solar and battery projects that start creeping up in the 50, 70 project range, it also allows for people that are doing, say, an electrification project where they want to do windows, they want to do insulation, they want to do HVAC and solar. A lot of times we'll break them up into separate projects, but you can go up to that $100,000 to help you get to that end goal of potentially even net zero. I know we have somebody that's working towards that right now, using Michigan Saves multiple loans stacked to get up to that number. As you can see here, the fixed rates, I am very happy to say that they're still as low as 3.99%. I know that rate, for example, that's a Lake Michigan credit union rate, is actually lower than their 30-year home loan right now. So you can borrow unsecured money for, at least right now, and it is a fixed loan rate, so it doesn't go up as the market changes. You can borrow money from Lake Michigan through our program cheaper than they can give you a 30-year loan to refinance your house. I don't think that will stay that way for long, but as of last Tuesday when I was in their office, it is still that way. The loans are $5,000 or more 10-year terms. That's kind of our bread and butter. We now have a term to 15 years, which really helps if you're just looking at payback for your solar project. We actually also are offering a 25-year loan to select contractors that have qualified, meeting some requirements in our program. There is other financing out there available for solar energy efficiency. Some of the solar financing that we see is very, the term predatory is what I hear often, where fees are baked into the loan to show you a lower interest rate, but in the end, you're paying way more for your solar project because it is being baked in. It's called a buy down. So if anybody is on here, I don't care if you're going to finance through Michigan. I want you to finance through Michigan Saves. Let me rephrase that. Even if you don't, if something sounds too good to be true in finance, it likely is. And I get calls regular. If you call the Michigan Public Service Commission and get their renewable department and you have a complaint about solar financing, they are going to send you to my cell phone. I have the luxury that I get those phone calls now. So, and I will tell you, I will advise you as best I can at that point. It is much easier to help you on the front end, whether you use Michigan Saves or not, when comparing quotes, than you call me later. So if anybody out here is doing that, same thing. If you're doing a window project, feel free to use the Michigan Saves. We have 907 authorized contractors now. Feel free to use our contractor list as a reference tool for any of these energy efficiency measures that you're doing. We monitor and we see if there's a contractor that's underperforming, we are going to put notes in. We're going to ask them to improve their performance. Customers will tell.
I can take them.
We know if the contractor is unsavory practices, we're going to find out fairly quickly now. Jump to this one. This is funny. So as Mark mentioned, this is my presentation from February that I haven't updated numbers, but we had a strategic planning event last week. We are now at $37 million in solar and batteries, counting in our April numbers. So Mark, these were through January, through February, March, and I have April's in here. We've done another 4 million just since in those 3 months. Our growth has been wonderful, and it's like exponential. It was either Monday, Tuesday last week or Tuesday, Wednesday last week. We did $271,000 in solar loans in 2 days. And that was 4 different contractors. So it wasn't even just one contractor that was, and I believe all 4 were GLREA members as well. I'm pretty certain of that. One may or may not be at this point, but so these are impressive numbers. This next one is telltale, and I think we talked about this recently at GLREA, is prior to 2021, so from 2009 to 2020, we had done about 20 battery projects over that window. In 2021, we did, it must be somewhere in the neighborhoods of 70 projects just last year. So from 20 over 9 years to 70 in 1 year, and we're seeing it today. Every day we're seeing more batteries. We certainly assume that is fairly directly related to the rate cases now with DTE and consumers both not being net metering, where batteries are becoming more prevalent. I can't prove that. I'm sure John Sarver, John Freeman, or Mark could also weigh in on that. I would say that it's probably fairly directly correlated. This is if you're a homeowner, show me the money, right? Or a contractor. This is a slide we threw together showing monthly payments for our 120-month loan or our 180 months or our 10 or our 15-year loan. The other nice part, again, many other solar finance entities have the ability to break your loan into 2 separate loans. And I go too fast. So somebody tell me to slow down if I get going too fast on this. You would take, let's use $10,000 as a good basic number, just for easy purposes. You would take, using federal tax credits as a sales practice, there is a 74% loan that you're going to take for, let's just say, 15 years. So we're going to take a $7,400 loan. And then we're going to take a $2,600 loan, so 26% federal tax credits at a 12 or 18 month window. So you're going to have 2 separate loans that are bracketed together, essentially. You're required to pay off the 26% loan in 12 to 18 months, or you get penalized on the full loan value. If you're able to get your federal tax credits and you pay it off, great. If not, it puts you in a really odd position and it raises your monthly payments dramatically. The way that we countered that is all of our lenders to participate in our program have agreed to a one-time free of charge reamortization of your loan. Your interest rate stays the same. So in the case that we just did, so you have a $10,000 loan with Michigan Saves Lake Michigan Credit Union. 18 months in, you get your $2,600 federal tax credit. You can do a lump sum payment, but there's no percentages. It doesn't have to be 26, it could be 10%, it could be 50%, it could be whatever you want. You're allowed to apply that directly to the principal of your loan, and they will recalculate the monthly payments for you based on the new principal for the remaining term of the loan. So we've termed it customer protected reamortization. So you have, if you're happy with your $10,000 loan and you want to go to Disneyland with that $2,600, go do it. But you have the ability to do that free of charge at any time throughout our loan. There's also, I had a realtor call this morning about solar because someone is selling their home that has a Michigan Saves solar loan. There is never an early payment penalty for Michigan Saves. You do not have to pay the interest that's due in the future. If you take a $10,000 loan today and you get a bonus from work and it's a 180-month loan and you get a bonus from work 3 months from now, you can pay off your entire loan in 3 months, and there is never a penalty for doing so, and there is no interest due either at that time. So this is a good one. Take a screenshot. I'm sure Mark can send this out. I think the version he has my old date, but same numbers, old date. And I skip to here at this point. So I like to open it up. I'm happy to talk through other projects that we're doing around the state of Michigan. If contractors that are on here have questions that they run into in the field, if customers have done solar, we're here, michigansaves.org. We have a great group of contractors. We've got a great team that I work with every day. We've grown. The process, if anybody on here did a Michigan Saves more than 24 months ago, the process is nowhere near the same. It is exponentially more streamlined. All of our lenders use the same exact procedure in moving through these loans. We want to educate more people about the program because we know we're also running some Google ads because we as a nonprofit, we are eligible for a grant for Google ads. So now we are not allowed to sell on these ads, but we can say, hey, it's hot outside, and if you need a new furnace and want to make it energy efficient, please visit one of our contractors and get a quote today. We had a customer fill out 10 different requests today, like copy paste to 10 contractors today. So they will happily call you back. Did I miss anything, gentlemen? You guys have heard this speech before for sure. It's the numbers have changed, the process has changed, but it's still that we're still here. I remember meeting John Sarver, about my second week with Michigan Saves, which at that point, I've been around 4.5 years now. We had done $100 million in loans, and we just passed $380 million last month.
So Pat, let me start out with asking a couple of questions. One is, could you describe what is the difference between a loan application you see that's for a solar system and one that has a solar system and a battery with a battery backup? Is it typically the solar company comes in with a battery subcontractor? I mean, how is this done? Our battery people have to be qualified on your supplier list along with the solar company? I mean, what's the mechanics of solar plus batteries?
Yep. So I think, I mean, I can even break it down for essentially further than that. So to be in our program, we have an authorization process that you go through. You have to be properly licensed in the state of Michigan to perform whatever you're going to sell to our customer base. So you need electrical license, you need builder's license to do solar. We also have to be in good standing with the state of Michigan. So we do a background check on the company. You also have to be trained in what Michigan Saves is. So hopefully you can somewhat explain what I just did to the end user, not just here's this finance loan, let us know when you get approved. And so essentially at that point, but and this isn't unique to home improvement type of loans. we pay the contractor direct, or the lender pays the contractor direct. So you, as the homeowner, take the loan through one of our lenders. They're going to walk you through the permitting process. Hopefully, they're going to take care of all that for you. They're going to go through your DTE, Consumers Energy Interconnection Agreement. Hopefully, they're going to explain to you what you're going to produce versus what you're going to pay. You want all those questions asked. In the end, you're going to sign a certificate of complete. You're going to sign loan documents with the lender that resides there. You're going to sign a certificate of completion for Michigan Saves that say, I, homeowner, agree that XYZ Solar installed my solar and batteries using certified to do so. And you're going to sign that before those funds are released to your contractor. So you have that final say, and we monitor those. Like, we have an individual, Katie, who is an absolute rock star. Her whole job is monitoring those interactions. And I did her job for spring break this year. She gets about 170 to 250 conversations a day, every day. And it is literally monitoring that. And that's where we're here to help the homeowner is, because if we see one of those that goes bad from XYZ Solar, we're gonna let them know and say, hey, we're aware of this. If you find our program beneficial, we are gonna expect that you're gonna help Miss Homeowner or Mr. Homeowner resolve the issue in which you said. Otherwise, we're gonna remove this tool, your ability to use this tool, and it is a very competitive rate. What we offer contract, we get calls weekly from other states. Can we use it here? Because it is very advantageous to not only the homeowner, but the contractor. They have higher tickets because of our low interest rates. They can sell you the extra battery because it's only another $100 a month. So I don't know that kind of is a broader picture rather than the battery and storage. In most cases, and I don't monitor the day-to-day often, because we just don't have the ability. I think in most cases, Mark, those battery systems are being sold with solar from the get-go. I don't think many are retro. I do know one last week though, or not 2 weeks recently, where a condo homeowners association would not allow a generator. So the person did solar and a battery so that they were able to have power when the power was out.
Interesting.
So I think we could see some more of that, where you could hypothetically even do a battery, grid charged battery, if you lived in, say, a high-rise apartment or condo where you couldn't be without power, and have that as your emergency backup power.
How about EV charging as part of the package? So some people we get the questions about whether or not, they could use their electric car as battery storage, or, if you have battery storage, do you still want to charge your car? And these
so I don't think there's too many cars that currently backflow like that. I think that's one of the Lightning's new marketing deals. EV charging stations, slam dunk. We do them, probably 10% of the jobs include that when you're doing it, because they're doing a panel upgrade. If they're there doing your panel upgrade and you think you're going to do electric vehicle, go ahead and do it. I think why we don't see more is, I assume when individuals purchase their electric car, they're getting the charger at time of purchase of car. So they're not financing it independently, but definitely on the larger jobs where they're doing solar storage and they know they're going to do. We did one with 2 charging stations, I don't know, a month or 2 ago. So yeah, absolutely. We met with Traverse Light and Power last week. They're talking about incentivizing. They put some, Traverse Light and Power themselves did some right in town there with a Michigan Saves authorized contractor. They didn't use the financing, but they checked the list to make sure they were authorized. So yeah, absolutely.
So some communities, I know Ann Arbor, but if somebody else has questions, please jump in here. Mary Braun asked if we could go back to the previous slide. I think she's got a question.
Absolutely.
So let's see make sure that everyone is. Okay. Mary, you want to break in here and tell us what you're thinking?
Oh,
It was
no,
just-
sorry, I don't have a question.
Oh.
I just wanted to capture the screenshot and,
Okay.
and didn't
All
get
right.
a chance
And I
before.
skipped over one detail of this. I shouldn't have, and I do this presentation so much, I skip over the details sometimes. That 23802 random number that I came up with, that is the average Michigan Saves solar project
Huh.
over this entire amount we see here for residential. That is the average project. I am next to certain that that number is higher now. For 9 years of Michigan Saves, the maximum loan value was $30,000. So we were leaving funds on the table essentially, or not financing the whole amount. This has gone up. If we ran this data for 2022, I would guess it to be closer. I don't know that it would be 30, but it wouldn't be 23,802. We're seeing some big projects for, especially, you know, to get to $270,000 in 2 days. You're not doing it at 23 grand a time.
Okay, we have a question from Joan Ross. Joan, go ahead.
Hi, thanks, Mark. Unfair question, probably, Patrick. In these big numbers that you have, can you give us an idea of how many are in, say, a city like Detroit? Or are these mostly
do.
in more affluent kinds of
No, I have an
places?
awesome slide that I just did for something else. Hold on, I'm gonna exit out of this. Oh, where was that slide? Where was that slide?
Sorry to throw stuff.
No,
at-
that's a
no,
great,
no.
no, that's a fantastic question. I love this question and I have a slide. Let me follow up with it. It was over 50% because we're doing a program with Kresge in Detroit, and we're also working with some counties on some ARP funds for some grant programs. Over 50% were in low to moderate of our total portfolio was in low to moderate family incomes. I will find that graphic. I don't want to fiddle around looking for it right now because you guys will see me going through everything. I guess I could stop sharing real quick.
Okay, and just as a follow-up, you just mentioned Kresge and a program with them. Is there any way you could give us a little bit more details? We're working with the Knight Foundation on kind of a project like that, and we'd like to, you know, share whatever has already been done as a practice model with the Knight Foundation.
We can follow up after this. I would love to. The details, I was on a call yesterday where we're still working on the details. The contract has not been finalized. The deal has been verbally agreed to. I don't have the details of what it's going to be. We're trying to see what the parameters are going to be. We're thinking, just so you know, you would apply for a Michigan Saves loan. If you were declined, we would do a secondary review of that application in an area. We would have particular areas, Detroit being an area of focus. We have been recruiting contractors in those areas in advance of this. And then we would review that application and then do some form using the Kresge funds, do some form to be able to serve more people than what we currently can, but using our current contractors and process to get the ball rolling to qualify individuals.
Okay, so we'd like to talk after if we can, or contact you. Mary is with North End Woodward Community Coalition, and we are involved with.
Those are the kind of things I'm on this to really, I mean, our standard program is awesome and up and running. These other ones is what I really like to bring up, and thank you for calling that out, because no, what we are in the process of that one right now. We also have a lead, we're working on, we just launched this past week, a lead abatement fund. We have funds from Michigan MDHS, yeah, Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, where we are going to be able to do Michigan Saves loans for lead abatement. So we can do, I think it's gonna be a $30,000 cap, but where you can, if you are found and your home tests positive for lead, we can do lead abatement financing for that.
So Pat, when I was still working full-time with the state and partnering with Michigan Saves, we were doing a lot of programs, the Better Buildings program for Michigan stuff that targeted low income housing and families and stuff. And at the time, we had a really, really low default rate. I assume that's still the case, that these loans, Michigan Saves, even though it's taking loans that some people would consider risky because of their credit rating and, the income level, there's a very low rate because it's based on savings that's going to be generated that covers the loan payments. Is that still the case?
2% program wide, 2% default rate.
That's stunning.
Yes.
Stunning.
But let's also be somewhat, cognizant that in the last 10 years, we've been in a pretty darn good economy as well. So
Yeah.
you have to, I have to quantify it so I'm a business person, that's what I really am. So, and actually, Mary, our president, gave me a little grief today because I apparently didn't update. I'm now the director of business development for Michigan Saves. So she's like, oh, look, they sent out a thing and they didn't even get your title right. That's nice. So we've been focusing on doing some more projects, and as we've grown, we're able to staff up and take on some more of these, like Joan is talking about, where we can take on some really cool stuff right now. And I guess I thought it was on this slide. We serve as low as 600 FICO score right now, which for an unsecured loan is pretty unheard of. That was the call I was on that made me a few minutes late. Is we got someone approved in Benton Harbor that was low 600s and they honestly thought their approval was a mistake, is what the phone call was. Are you sure this is approved? So we're hitting a lot of people, but we're not hitting everybody that deserves it, and that's what we're working on.
Cool. We have another question. Patrick Ziski. Patrick?
Ziski, actually, you got it right.
Ziski, I'm getting better.
Hi, Pat. I don't know if you remember us, but
I do.
I remember when you came to Chelsea a few years ago.
Yeah,
It was
absolutely.
Great to see you again.
Still here.
I've got actually two questions so far. I'm going to change the order of them because one of them kind of dovetails into this thing about the default rate and the offsets that people save money on their electric bills. So they presumably have more money to pay for the loan,
right,
because out of their savings. And I'm wondering, do you have data on how much of the loan payment is offset by the electrical bill savings? Like for some of the numbers you showed here, actually it was the other slide that you were showing, with the monthly payments.
Yep.
Like the top number, $188 monthly payments. For a solar system of that size, do you have any numbers about how much they're saving on their electric bill?
No, because we have a range of price per watt that if you go outside of that range, it throws a red flag. We don't decline it, but we throw a red flag that says, why was this one, either $1.70 a watt or $5.70 a watt?
I guess my question would be, for a solar power system that costs $23,802 at like the median of that range of dollars per watt. How much do you save on your electric bill? About it's a calculation based on the kilowatts of the system, really. Yeah.
And your agreement with your utility company if you're buying and selling.
That's right. It depends on the utility company.
Right.
So our data doesn't track, can't get that far deep because I don't track production in the data. I track how many watts we've done. I track the cost per watt, but we don't track the production of a watt, right? And that's where
Patrick, I can shed a little bit of light on this.
Yeah.
In our solarized programs, we've worked with Ann Arbor to come up with a series of questions, because we're asking people to come in and then asking several contractors to come in and basically make an offer for a bulk purchase based on level of participation. And so we've tried to come up with apples and apples questions and ways that people can actually compare one contractor to another and look at things like, well, warranties and fees and stuff like that. And one of the questions is, will the savings pay for the financing if I finance this, and can you demonstrate that? And I know that my solar contractor, when I put on my house in 2016, they gave me an estimated savings And on an annual basis, it was supposed to pay for itself, and basically it has. It's generating savings in some months. Now I was getting full net metering, so and in months when it's really cranking, we don't use a lot of air conditioning in our house, so I was producing excess power, and that money offset because I was getting a credit, so it offset stuff in December. So I think that my experience is that reputable solar contractors, this is one of the things they respond to, because customers are getting more and more sophisticated, and people like City of Ann Arbor and the Solarize program and GLREA and others, we try to help people sort this kind of stuff out, so that you get down to reputable contractors. So generally on an annual basis, it should come pretty close to paying the financing.
And I had a conversation last week at that strategic planning. One of our board members did a loan with us, and he is on current DTE rates, not net metering. He was at about $40 a month that he was still paying, and his system is new, so we don't have data. He's still paying about $40 more to have the solar on his house than his, and let's use this as an example, his $188 payment. So he has $188 plus 40. So but that's one example from someone I talked to that solar system is 3 months old.
That's pretty close, actually. That's still a very good
Yeah,
starting cell.
15-year term at 10 years, you're going to be paying more. Yeah,
Right.
you're going to be paying more. You're paying off your loan faster. That 15-year, which you should have ROI, hopefully within 15 years, it should be within, hopefully 40. And then again, don't hold me to that, please. But that was a real world example from a couple last week.
That's still a great story, because as people should know, after 10 years, now you have free electricity.
But the other thing to keep in mind, Patrick, is the fact that you're calculating what your return on investment is going to be at the moment you install your system. But as the years roll on and DTE keeps raising its rates almost every year, then you're going to see increased savings as the years roll on, versus with your home, with your solar system, versus your neighbor who's having to eat a rate increase almost every year. So
Really good point. Yeah. So it's a declining thing over time too.
Well, I've got
you had two questions.
But I can hold it. Yeah.
No, you can ask a question now, please.
Yeah, unless somebody else is first. This very, very, very practical question. There are, I guess, 907 authorized contractors on your list. If somebody wanted to sign up and really wanted a project done quickly, how far out are they from beginning a project at this point in general? What's the industry look like in Michigan?
For solar?
Yeah.
Depends on where they're getting their panels from.
Yeah, like as of a month ago, it was a different answer than I got today.
Right.
It really depends on how quickly. I haven't had a panel shortage. Windows have been a problem. Heat pumps have been problems. Generator transfer switches have been problems. Solar hadn't been a problem until recently. You're looking at a minimum of 2 months, I'd say, because you have your county permits, your city permits, your interconnection with DTE or consumers. I'd be shocked. Peninsula Solar is I believe one of our members, and certainly one of our contractors.
Right.
They're done taking orders for this year.
That's because the contractor's backed up, in addition to getting the equipment and the permits.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'd say 2 months. It'd be a fast turnaround today. It'd be my guess.
I talked to Mark Furta today from McNaughton McKay, and they've got German panels in a warehouse now, and they have product on ships on its way to Detroit. So some places there are European, let's just say non-Asian panels are moving.
And I hadn't heard too much, honestly, like I said, until last couple of weeks for panels is when it started to kind of give.
Right.
We've done some workarounds on the loan side of extending the loan approval windows. So our contractors are hopefully aware of how to do. I don't want to call it a workaround, but we basically had to adapt. You order Windows, if you order Windows right now, you're 4 months minimum. If you order today, you're not getting them for 4 months.
Well, that's good because I've already got my windows.
You're good, yeah. Good call.
Thank you.
All right, Charles Morris, looks like you got your hand up.
Yeah, yeah, question, just you already addressed the income point, side of the equation. What about the age side of the equation? Let's say hypothetically, there's this Catholic priest who's been living in rectories all his life, and now he's getting ready to retire when he's about 73, he'll be able to finally for the first time, make his own purchase. I'm looking at myself, I say, well, yeah, maybe I can make the 120 months in, before I croak or become incapacitated, but maybe yes, maybe no, 180 months. I mean, what in terms of age?
We do not discriminate.
Okay.
We did a furnace and air conditioner last week for a 92-year-old.
Oh.
The contractor, she hadn't had an ID or driver's license in 4 years. The contractor offered to take her to the Secretary of State so she could get a state ID, so she could get a furnace.
I love it.
So,
I love it.
so we do not, you are welcome to do the loan. They will offer you some form of loan insurance.
Mhm.
If you want to take that, you can opt into that after you do it. If you do want to cover your butt, your estate's butt, however you want to phrase that nicely.
Sure.
So we do have the ability to insure it, but if you've got a state ID and you qualify, we are happy to have you. But that's noted, if you don't have, please, I mean, this is another one of my MPSC deals. If you don't have a federal tax liability, I don't care how good the sales individual is, you're not going to get the full 26% if any of it.
Right.
Do not believe that the federal government is just going to mail you a check magically if you do not have a federal tax liability. So make sure, if you do have federal tax liability this year because you're still working and you're not going to be next year, it might be a good year to get solar.
So that's what I was thinking of, like the next coming year. While I'm still working, I got 1 year to work, so.
Yep. No, that's something I had a retired individual that a solar company sold them. They're getting their 26%, and here comes 12 months later, it doesn't show up. 24 months later, it doesn't show up, and it's not coming. They don't have federal tax liability.
So one way around that, Pat, I know is Social Security. When you get your Social Security, they take taxes out of it unless you tell them not to. But you can go fill out a form and send it into the IRS and say, take 0 taxes out of my Social Security and create that money. So it's possible to do that. So if you're on Social Security, you are paying taxes. And
I'm paying, I got Social Security, paying taxes, I got a pension, taking withholding all that as well.
Yeah.
All my
yeah.
regular income.
I just like to, I like to be transparent on that stuff just because I've heard bad stories that people, buy a $70,000 solar system and are promised $15,000 back. And
Yeah. That's tough. We have about 15 minutes. Other questions? So, Pat, communities are setting up, following this model that Ann Arbor's doing, the solar buy down group buy, Solarize Ann Arbor, and GLREA has now been given permission by the city of Ann Arbor and funding by the state of Michigan to replicate those. Can you tell us about your experience in working with the Solarize programs? These are where the city takes the responsibility of bringing a group of people together. They invite in several solar contractors to come in and make a presentation about their products and their process. Interested buyers come together, and if they can reach a threshold, then they get discounts, 5, 10, 15% discount on the bulk buy. Some contractors will even offer a manufacturer's discount if that gets high enough. I know that we've all the contractors in Ann Arbor are Michigan Saves contractors, but does that throw in make it more difficult because you got a whole bunch of different people doing loans, or
No,
does that make it easier? How do you see those programs working with you?
I'm all about the education, right? So the more educated the consumer, the better it is for everyone on this call, everyone that's considering solar. Because if you got a bad apple in the group of a contractor, that gets vetted out and protects everyone on that list, that everybody's going to be in communication. We're all going to be transparent. The contractors are going to be vetted, that they're going to be good and they're going to do their job and they're going to show up and they're not going to sell some scam finance that they shouldn't be selling, whether it's Michigan. I mean, there's other good finance companies out there. I'm not saying we're then, there is other good companies. But so no, I love having those because it makes it, the one-offs are much more difficult for us to deal with than 10 educated customers, right? You get somebody that has heard about solar once and they had a bad contractor in their house and they want to know why did I get a $70,000 quote, a $50,000 quote, and a $44,000 quote, and they all have the same KWs next to it? I don't understand. That's a challenge, right? Whereas if you're pulling these together, it's a great way. And for the contractors, many of them are happy with it because I was just talking with CBS Solar. I had lunch with Alan on Friday, and they did a Petoskey area one, and I actually brought your name up, Mark. I was like, oh, do you know Mark's up that way sometimes? It was a great turnout for them. And for them, now they put a crew in Petoskey rather than doing Petoskey one day and Copemish one day and Manistee one day and Frankfurt one day.
Right.
They can knock out the city is going to help them with their city permits easier because what we did for Bob, we're going to do for Susie. No, I think they're great as long as it's not done by a marketing company selling solar, and it's responsible solar contractors. I am fully supportive of it. And I hope that, they at least bring up the fact that they have financing available through Michigan Saves. You don't have to, but here's an option. Okay, and I see Peter has a question on here. How do you screen projects for owner's ability to pay? Do you have sliding interest scale based on income? I do not have a sliding scale based on income. We have a 50% debt to income requirement. So you have to have the ability that's what lenders consider your ability to repay is your debt to income. We do have a sliding scale based on your FICO score. The lower the score, the more risk, the higher the interest rate. We do have it capped though at 7%, which is an incredibly low unsecured rate for the FICO scores in which we are able to serve. So that's 600, we're as low as 600 up to $10,000 up to 10 years for 7% if you fall into that 600 to 639 credit. So sliding scale is based on your FICO or your credit score, not your income. We in 2021, we approved 72% of all loans that came through.
Wow. Huh.
That's Joan. That's also or Gene. I'm sorry. That's also, we were using that data when we were looking at who we served and which communities we were, as we wanted to see, so we're hoping, if we're already hitting 72% of the population and we can add even another 5 by using grant funding or these other programs, I mean, we're going to, it'd be great if we could hit 8 more percent, get up to 80%. We can serve 80% of Michigan homes would be fantastic.
So Pat, you raise an interesting question. Communities all over the place are trying to reach, zero emissions. They have sustainability programs and things like that. And I would dare say that every single community has the same problem. They got a low income group that they can't figure out how to serve. And some people are looking up, models of commingling loan money, grants and financing.
Add us to that list.
All together. Absolutely. Can you describe how, I assume Michigan Saves is open to this, and how would you pursue, or how do you see yourself involved? How do you see Michigan Saves involved in that kind of a project?
That is part of what I do every day, at least weekly now, is we're trying to get creative. So there's all the ARP funds that are available at the county level, and finding ways to creatively leverage those funds.
Yes.
To support some of this. There's obviously the weatherization program that handles the least qualified individual to try to get them comfort. So that's already taken care of. Then there's that, again, I'll just say it's the 28%. I can't, let's just say the top 5% or the lowest 5% has already been served by weatherization. then there's still this 15% that is in the middle. Those are the people who we're going to try to focus on with either this CRESG funds. I think the American Rescue Plan dollars can creatively be used to do it. And I think we're in a very unique position where we have the software, we have the lenders in place, and we have the contractors in place to do the work. We have to find a way to get the funds to do the work. So, and we're very actively, Mary Templeton, our president, Todd Parker, myself, we're Todd O'Grady's, we're actively working on those things. The thing, and I'm sure not many people out here, it just doesn't happen overnight. There's so many hurdles. But I think, again, we're in a really unique, good position to hopefully be able to do some of those programs soon. I see Mr. Sarver and Dave Curtis both have questions.
Well, Pat, I'm kind of curious, and I wonder if you have many repeat customers where somebody puts in maybe a new furnace and a few years later they decide to want to put in a solar system. I don't know if you track that sort of thing, but do you have people kind of coming back?
Exponentially more every day. Absolutely. We see that. And you know, John, when I see it most frequently is it's a I'll get a contract, contractor number 704 or whatever hasn't used our program in 3 years. They go in and quote somebody something and they say, hey, I saw you were Michigan Saves. And the contractor's like, oh man, I don't remember anything about that. Yeah, I'm Michigan Saves. So that's how a lot of times I'll hear about it is then I'll get the call, hey, you sent me an email 3 years ago, I ignored you. I got a customer that wants to use Michigan Saves. They already have a loan. Can they do this? And absolutely. Or as we see a lot of like family members now where it's like, your cousin lives in Traverse City, their furnace went out last winter. You remember him complaining about it at Christmas. You call and say, man, did you pay $10,000 for that furnace? And, no, I use Michigan Saves. Well, can I do that in my region? Yep. Search so yeah, we see, definitely the solar ones, because people ask, right? They did their windows 3 years ago, and then they're like, oh, I want solar. I wonder if I can do that same thing. And we can bracket as many loans on, as long as you stay in that program maximum, you could have $10,000 Michigan Saves loans to get to that $100,000 cap. That very good question, but more common every day. It used to be like, hey, or we also get contractors today, Lasco and our heating and cooling contractors, one of their employees needs a new air conditioner. Can we use Michigan Saves for one of our employees? Absolutely.
Oh.
We're happy to have your employee as a customer.
So we have a question from Dave Curtis. Dave, you're on.
Okay. I'm just wondering if there's a guide, maybe a step-by-step sort of a guide so that third-party contractors, including financing, is approached in a reasonable fashion instead of like some doofus getting a quote, looking for financing, finding out that quote's not really what he was looking for. Is that partially set up with Michigan Saves and Solarize?
We have kind of like unless it's somebody you trust implicitly, I don't care what kind of project, I don't care if you're getting a deck built, get 3 quotes. You should never trust one individual's opinion of solar or furnace or AC, any of that, unless you have a great relationship with a company you trust completely. Please get multiple quotes. That's the way to protect yourself as a consumer. And in those quotes, they should either have Michigan Saves or other financing available to them. Unless you're sitting there with a pile of $100 bills, they should at least give you that option. And just make sure that, again, there shouldn't be a prepayment penalty for anything. And there shouldn't be any, if you miss a payment by a day, it shouldn't affect your interest rate long-term. You don't want to enter into those agreements again, be it you're buying a car or you're anything. That's some of the worst stuff I see. Like, and again, I came from just the business world, right? And some of my least comfortable phone calls or somebody that did a 0% at Home Depot for 18 months and they couldn't pay it off, or they missed a payment, and most of those will go retroactive from day one to 20% interest. So now
Yeah.
you're,
I get what you're saying there, but I mean, if, as far as sequence of events.
no, in sequence of, no, it should be, I mean, just, and again, I'll use solar just because that's where we're at. You know, you should get quotes. You'll sign a contract with your contractor that should have a very defined, here's what's about, this is what's going to happen. We're going to pull permits, we're going to get with DTE consumers. And that contract between you and your contractor is a binding agreement after 3 days in the state of Michigan. If it gets adjusted, you do change orders, anything like that. But the sequence of events should be you get 3 quotes for any service you are about to be provided. You weigh your options, you pick based on you thought the guy was funny, or you thought the sales individual was really good at their job, or they explained financing best, right? You could pick for a multitude of different reasons. And then you would move forward with that project as that contract should state is the correct working agreement between you and any contractor. You know, I built a house, 5 years ago, and I didn't have a good enough contract in place, and there were some troublesome days. We made it through it, everything was fine, but getting all your expectations with the contractor up front is important.
Patrick, I think Joan Ross had the last question. Joan, are you still on?
Yeah, I think that's kind of what Dave is getting to. What's the sequence of events? I get the quotes, I pick the contractor, then I go to Michigan First or wherever and get a loan, and then I contact Michigan Saves, or how does that part? Give me the.
Yep. So typically, let's just say you want solar at your house. Let's just go easy. You look at my website or our website and say, okay, I'm a search. I live in whatever Southfield. Most solar contractors service a pretty large portion of the state. You know, a heating and cooling contractor only services maybe 30, 50 miles from their building, maybe. A window contractor might be slightly more than that. Solar will typically go most everywhere in the state. So you would get 3 quotes. If they provide you with Michigan Saves as an option, and you choose to go that route, they're going to give you this little spiel of this is what you'd be looking at. Each contractor in our program, once they're authorized, I did think of one more thing. They also have to be insured to do work in the state of Michigan as well. That's also in our verification process. They would give, each contractor is assigned a 6-digit ID in our program. You would go to michigansaves.org/loan center or call 877-867-8522, which is a loan center representative. You would say, I'm looking to do a loan for solar. You provide that 6-digit ID. They would let you pick which lender based on where you live. Almost all the lenders are statewide. You go through your loan application. The software decisions the loan. The customer and the lender then work together to do the loan documents. It's all can be done electronically these days. It can be done in person. It can be done through the mail, or it can be done online. You secure your loan. Typically, that's when a contractor will give you your final, like we'll be out in 8 weeks because now everything is finalized. They will start the permitting process. They will start the interconnection agreement for you. That varies by county, city, township, you name it. Utility. At that point, you then at your install date, you're installed, you sign that certificate of completion we did or talked about earlier, if it's Michigan Saves, or even if it's not, before you give them the final payment with a check, you're going to make sure everything is verified. And that's our process, or what I envision of get 3 quotes, sign, pick your favorite one, and work on the loan. Typically, your contract would be binding once you sign it, but then they want to make sure that you're going to be approved for your loan.
So Patrick, let me just add that the solarized programs that are being set up now around the state, the GLREA is doing in Ann Arbor and some other communities, the process is the same, except for one thing, is that when a person comes in, they to participate in the program, the contractors are brought in. So let's say there's 10 people that come to a meeting where they're interested in solar. And the contractors are invited in to participate in the program. They have to be Michigan Save certified, et cetera, go through that. Those contractors make their presentation from that process. The people in the audience get together separate from the contractors and make a decision to select a contractor. And at that point, they then go back to the contractor and they know in advance, if we have 5 people or 3 people or 8 people signing up and what's the level of discount we can expect from these companies that are making the presentation. So there's a force function there to get again, comparison to apples and apples. But when they sit down and say, we 5 like this one contractor, we're all going to work through this one. We're all going to get the discount now. And those 5 then pursue, maybe 3 of them will go to Michigan Saves and 2 of them will pay cash. But that process is exactly the same process, except there's another step in there, which is select a contractor and drive to a group bulk buy discount. And so it adds some time to it, but the communities that are doing this find out Ann Arbor's did 3 megawatts already through this process, just going from neighborhood to neighborhood. And it works great. And the companies, contractors like it. We're feeding them qualified bulk bids. How can they not like it? To get 3 megawatts worth of solar sales in Ann Arbor by yourself is almost impossible. So the companies see the value of these solarized programs because it streamlines this process, Joan, that you were talking about. So. All right, well, with that, Pat, I want to thank you so much. We've taken an hour of your time. Really, really appreciate it. We have a copy of your slides. We look forward to bringing you back when we hear you do next year's program and see what new whistles and bells you've developed. And thank you so much for your service. Thanks for everything Michigan Saves does for us and everybody else. And with that.
Sorry, can I jump in real quick?
Oh, yes.
Sorry, this is Mary.
Okay.
Follow up with Patrick. What is the best way to get in touch with you regarding the Kresge Foundation and learning more about that work? Should I call the number or?
I threw my cell phone number in here because I do everything on my cell phone.
Great.
There it is. Yep.
If I don't answer, I'm on the other line. I'll call you back. I promise.
Okay.
Really good.
That'd be great. All right.
But
Thank
yeah,
you.
so that's, I'm guessing that's going to come. I can't envision that we could have it live and running before Q3. I will have more answers in the next probably 30 days. Todd Parker from my team is the heavy lifter there, and he will have first knowledge. It's close because we've agreed upon verbally what it looks like. It's just, is there going to be any restrictions? Is it going to be for anything that's Michigan Saves eligible? Is it only for solar? Is it only for, there's just a bunch of small details. Our business is going to be eligible. I just don't have the final details, but we're trying to announce it to as many people because we had a customer yesterday that I'm nearly certain they're going to qualify for it. If we can do HVAC, they're going to qualify. And now they're sitting there, unfortunately, without an air conditioner at their house because we can't say yes.
But you're still willing to work with another funder. Knight Foundation may be able to move quickly, and they're interested in a specific set of blocks.
Yes,
so it's not going to be as complex.
Yeah, we have we have it in play. We have all the framework is in place. We just got to plug in what to do where. We're happy to help. Because it's going to serve those communities. You have to be creative. Standard, what we've seen in the past, it's not possible, and we're trying to help. That's part of our strategic plan. We're actually going to focus on the next 3 years. That is a huge area of focus for Michigan Saves, is serving a wider range of individuals.
Super. Well, we look forward to you coming back and telling us about your success.
Cool. All right.